everyone, and thank you for joining me for another Women's Spotlight. As you all may or may not know, I choose to do this because there's nothing more that excites me than seeing women get up to great things. And why do we want to do this? Well, many times we're told what we should do, how we should show up, how we can conform, contort ourselves. And in the Women's Spotlight, we take a different approach. We want to know, how are women living their best lives? How are they stepping out of what is known and into expansion? And it's basically about giving women the permission to expand, to diversify their portfolio, and really do whatever they want to do with their life. And today's no different. So please welcome Lisa Murphy with us today, who has had a wonderful career in social media, in design, in content creation, and decided one day that she was going to leave it all and do some coaching. She's going to help transform women's lives. And she did this after starting to coach and transform her own. So I'm really looking forward to the words of wisdom we might hear today. So, Lisa, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you also for creating this incredible spotlight, which is so helpful for other women.
It is so my pleasure. People always say to me, Tara, you're so busy. How do you fit it all in? And it's like, well, why would we not want to fit it all in, especially something so important? So thanks for that acknowledgement. And I'm sending one right back at you because, Lisa, you also created this women over 50 social following, and it's to uplift women that are in that second half of their life. And that brings so much forward for me that I want to talk about with women and aging and how we accept and love ourselves, and how at 50 you were brave enough to say, I'm going to step into the next phase of my life and it's going to be amazing. So I'm not sure if that is how it went, but that's how I imagine you sort of dreaming up this wonderful thing for women over 50. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you started that and what was your driving passion behind it?
For sure. Yeah. So I started 50 Forward Club in April 2021. And the rationale behind it was that I just wanted to create a space on Instagram that was about pro aging, uplifting women who are over 50, sharing a few laughs. Because I knew, like myself, a lot of women who were in midlife, some of them, had felt a loss of confidence. They were kind of questioning where they were at and where they were going. And so I wanted to create a community that I was looking for as well, that was kind of, showcasing amazing 50 plus women who were starting new businesses and trying new things, getting out of their comfort zone. That excites me. And so giving those women a platform has been such a pleasure. And it's been so amazing to meet so many women virtually. Yeah. And so that was kind of the impetus behind it. And it's just been a real passion project for me and something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, and I went to your Instagram page and went through some of your the things on the link tree and all of the wonderful speakers and coaches and just various perspectives you have on there. And it's a wealth of knowledge. It's really wonderful to see because it's almost, I feel sometimes like we're fighting our looks and our aging all the time, whether you're too good looking or not good looking enough or too old or too young. And it is this sort of ageism that's happening, compounded by the sexism in our society, which sounds like a really big thing to embark on and to challenge. But yet you found such a wonderful tactical way to go about bringing it to light. So when you first started this Instagram page, how did it sort of evolve? Because you were featured in the Globe and Mail with this page of yours. Like, it's gotten some tremendous support. So going from the idea of over 50 is still so relevant and there's so much we can do with our lives, to creating the page, what happened in between and how did it come to be?
It was completely organic, to be honest. There wasn't a whole lot of planning. I had been toying with the idea of some sort of 50 Forward Club thing. And, you know, uh, my coach at the time was kind of like, just stop planning and like stop thinking about things, just do something, you know? So I was like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna start with the Instagram feed. And so I was really just experimenting along the way and kind of learning from others. And I knew that I really wanted to have a mix of voices from people from all walks of life. And so I kind of started, I really wanted to showcase other women who are 50 plus who are doing different things. I didn't want it to be about me or about, you know, although occasionally I share things, but it was really just more about bringing together a whole bunch of different women's voices. And, you know, it was fantastic to discover like so many 50 plus and 60 plus and 70 plus, 90 plus women who are doing such phenomenal things. And so it kind of grew. And then, of course, taking a look at the analytics, you get a sense of like, okay, you know, these are the posts that are really resonating with people. You know, let's do a little bit more of that. And a lot of the posts too kind of reflect my interest in kind of the secrets of a well-lived life. You know, just bringing together wisdom and reading many books, and sharing that with people as well. So just trying to create a conversation, you know?
Well, I think you've done a great job. And as women in North America, I don't know if we always appreciate that wisdom that comes with aging and that learning that comes as they do maybe in some of the other societies around the world. But I remember the first time I heard about a centenarian Olympic runner who was a woman who had started running in her 70s. It had just it had shocked me at first, but then it overwhelmed me with possibilities, right? Because we get
Yeah.
so tunnel visioned into what we decided when we were in teenagehood for our life. We forget that it's this evolving evolution. We're evolving at all times. So when you started this dialogue and you brought all of these women together, how did it get to, let's say, the Globe and Mail's attention and other great media sources?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as the numbers, you know, the number of followers increased, you know, it was getting on people's radar. I think the fact that I was showcasing 50 plus female entrepreneurs who were Canadian and who were local, I think that was kind of unique. So I think that those two things together probably brought it to their attention. I mean, obviously, what's fantastic about this time is we are seeing a really increased exposure in issues like menopause, perimenopause, ageism, gender equity, you know, feminism. Obviously, thank God, these things are, you know, being talked about extensively. And I think that, you know, to your point earlier about why I started, I mean, we all have a lot of internalized ageism.
Mhm.
There's a lot of women who, at 50 plus, are either losing jobs or are not being considered for jobs. And so as a result, you know, there's a lot of women who are kind of thinking to themselves, like, you know, am I going to be able to get another job? Should I, you know, just start my own business? To which I say, yes. Um, and, you know, how can I kind of differentiate myself if I'm looking for jobs and that sort of thing? So I think that it's a conversation that's very much on people's minds.
Mhm.
And I feel like um, 50 Forward Club is a space where we can kind of talk about lifting each other up, but also learning to lift ourselves up.
Mhm.
Because when we have something like internalized ageism, we need to start with ourselves. Of course, we also need to combat it on a societal level, which we do, all in our different ways. But we also have to kind of work on it within ourselves and kind of really um, open our own minds to the possibilities.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When I was reflecting and preparing for our chat today, what I realized is I had internal ageism at a young age because I had felt I was too young, or I was being told I was too young to hold the positions that I wanted to hold.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because I was always either too young, or now I'm feeling like, I'm just getting to the point where I'm old enough and then I'm too old for certain, conversations. And it's almost like an internal battle we have to fight. And I feel personally like I've just been fighting it my whole life. Either you're too young for a leadership role, but then you're getting a little too old for some of the social media pictures you have to put out there when you're doing your own branding, etc. And I've spoken to other women that feel, they don't want to just jump on camera for their media, their social media. And I know that's something that you're an expert in, so we can dive into that soon. And it's because of the concerns about the lines. It's because of the concerns about the way they look. And then there's the pressure from what's going on around us with a hyper, goal for cosmetic surgery and things like that. And again, I'm not for or against, but all of it compounds, right? So thank you
100%.
for bringing that up. And 50 forward is great because I'm in my mid 40s and I'm going to be there soon. So I'm going to jump on a little early onto your social media.
Please
If
do.
that's
Yeah.
okay. And I think it's an important dialogue to continue to have. And for women to just remember they're never too young or too old to do anything that they truly feel called to do. So you felt called for that, but you've also enjoyed a really long career, and you decided sort of around that same 50 time set that you were going to reset your career. So tell us a little bit about, what you spent your first 50 years building around your social media and your branding and your PR work. So let's start with how that all came to be. Then we'll talk about what came next.
For sure. Yeah. I feel so incredibly fortunate to have worked in media. So I used to be in PR many, many moons ago, in my late 20s. And then I decided that I wanted to go back to school to become a journalist. I did that. I started working at Chatelaine Magazine, which was just an absolute dream at the time. I was just so delighted, and still so delighted to know people at Chatelaine. And so that was a wonderful experience, writing. And at that time, I started doing digital media work, so website redesigns and that sort of thing, and worked for different magazines like Canadian Family, worked for Rogers on multiple magazine brands, and was also at House and Home Media as well.
Mhm.
So it's been wonderful. I've worked with many fabulous people, and I love storytelling, and I love digital media in terms of the way that we can tell stories in different ways.
Mhm.
And so what's been great about it as well is, just it's been such a learning journey, because as the different platforms have evolved, literally the rules are changing every single day. They still are.
Mhm.
Just when you least expect it, there's another social platform with completely different rules and different photo specs and everything else. So, or they change the algorithms and you kind of have to adjust to that. And so it's been amazing. But as I say, like for me, really at the end of the day, the storytelling is the most exciting aspect of having been in media, because it really excites me to share other people's stories, as I do on 50 Forward and elsewhere, because I feel like we have so much to learn from one another, or to showcase experts like doctors and, business people, other people, sharing their wisdom. That to me is just a lot of fun. And I love learning from people as I, write articles and do other things like that. So
And I think
it's
you
been
hit
great.
the nail on the head when you talk about storytelling. And for all of you out there, like storytelling is such a big thing in so many careers and in life, right? Being able, if we think about First Nations, it was all through storytelling, right? And language, it carries all of our historical knowing. So if we can take storytelling and use it to brand ourselves, our organization, I have salespeople working for me. I tell my salespeople all the time, people aren't buying your software. People are buying the story in which you can present for how it can serve them and how it can change their lives. And it's the same probably in what you do. So now that you've gone through and you've leveraged the storytelling and you've gone through all these fantastic publications and you've dabbled in, digital media as well as written countless articles, etc. What made you decide one day that you wanted to change?
Yeah, well, I mean, it had definitely been building. I think in my late 40s, around sort of 47, I was sort of starting to, definitely experience some symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, the sort of elevated anxiety, sort of real, you know, various symptoms and that sort of thing. So you're sort of starting to kind of feel a bit of a change and be like, okay, wait a second, what's going on here?
Mhm.
Um, and so, and I had also been in media for almost, and so even though I was still enjoying it, I was starting to feel like, it feels like it's time for a change. Um, I had children that I was raising, and so between working really long hours, taking care of the kids, taking care of my parents, it felt like I was on a little bit of a hamster wheel, and that, I wasn't really taking a breath and a chance to kind of think about what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
Um, and so I decided to start doing coaching for myself. I joined women's group coaching, and it was a really life changing experience. It really gave me mindset tools to really rethink my thinking and kind of how I wanted to feel, give me an opportunity to think about what goals I wanted to achieve. And so that was such a great experience, and seeing so many women achieve such amazing results, trying things that they never thought they would try and achieve it. So yeah, I was kind of like, I kind of love this. So after launching 50 Forward Club, I then decided I want to become a coach myself. Yeah.
Coaching
Um,
it's kind of amazing because it's nice to have someone that you can walk and talk through these things with. But coaching oftentimes I find is misunderstood because people think coaching is where you go to get all the answers.
yes. Yeah. And in fact, really, coaching is about helping people empower themselves and gain their own awareness, because everyone is the expert on themselves. And so coaching really just provides um, a vehicle for people to kind of reach into themselves, gain more awareness, and be accountable for where they want to go.
Mhm.
And so it's really kind of, a coach is like an ally to some degree.
Mhm.
And so you can definitely also do mentoring, and I offer mentoring as well. Some people just, you're looking for a job and you want mentoring and assistance with LinkedIn or other things, happy to help.
Mhm.
You want to be told, in that case, as a mentor, you want a mentor to tell you, kind of give you advice, that sort of thing. But yeah, typically coaching is really more about celebrating the individual and helping them come to their own awareness.
Thank you for that delineation. I think it's so important to understand that as a coach, you are pulling out all of the answers because the other person is whole, complete, creative, resourceful, whole, and complete, I like to say. And then on the other side, a mentorship is quite different. It's let me tell you how I've had success or what I've learned, and you
Yeah.
can take from it what you choose. So one is a telling and one is more of a listening. And I find, like, for me, coaching was a game changer as well, because it changed not only the way that I dealt with people and my teams, but the way that I dealt with myself. Because it's oftentimes, for driven women, very easy to be hard on ourselves and get in that hamster wheel and expect more and more and more. And if we're coaching ourselves the way we would coach our clients, I think we come to find out that doing more is not always better. And it's okay to take a pause, and it's okay to reset, and it's okay to change careers, and it's okay to change spouses, or whatever it is that is right for you inside that inner voice. Do you feel that when you started coaching, that you were more connected to your inner voice and your intuition than before you had started coaching?
Absolutely. Like coaching has made a huge difference in terms of my ability to listen to myself and to be kind to myself. It's like an ongoing process. I mean, it's something we're continuously learning throughout our life.
Mhm.
But no question, to me, like one of the biggest, most helpful aspects of self coaching is daily mindset work. And so just taking time every single day to think about not just what I'm grateful for, but also what I'm trying to achieve, what I can do that day to kind of help my future self, so to speak,
Mhm.
but also to consider what I learned from the day before.
Mm.
And so that process of just kind of thinking about what I've learned or thinking about how I'm feeling or thoughts that aren't helpful or then I realize, hey, these are some aspects about my life or the way I'm living that I can now see that I'm not comfortable with and that I need to change.
Mhm.
And so without that time to actually reflect, and when I say time, like it's really only 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes a day. It's not a huge investment of time,
Mhm.
but it is a game changer in terms of living an aligned and aware life.
I love that, an aligned and aware life. And I know that's something that you strive for as a mindset coach, to help women have an aligned life with their core values, which I really love, because, sometimes we've got our values over here and we've got the work we got to do in a day, and then we've got everything in between. And it's hard to bring that alignment. It's hard to ensure that we're living on purpose and on our values every single day. So I really want to explore how you do that with your clients more. But before we go there, I'd like to just kind of dig into the idea that gratitude is so important, that looking and reflecting at what you did yesterday is so important. But then also the small steps you can do today. I like to say one foot in front of the other. When I did my Everest climb, that was what I kept saying, one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. And
That's
that those,
amazing. Like, good for
oh, thank
you.
you.
Wow.
But those small one foot in front of the other is what makes life life. Because many times when we think about mindset, and I'd love your perspective here, we think about the big things, right? You're married to a wonderful husband, you said. You've got two great kids, 18 and 20, and they're embarking on this new stage of their life, which is super exciting. Or, maybe a friend of mine is getting married. Those big things are wonderful, but they don't happen daily. And it's the same as when a terrible thing might happen, like a death in the family or a loss. It's really hard to deal with, but those don't happen all the time either. It's those little micro steps that fill our day, that can either fill us with joy or fill us with something else. And the gratitude is what starts the day, getting us in that right joy filled mindset and being thankful. And then I personally think it helps attract more into us. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of research that shows that gratitude does improve people's lives. I mean, it's really important to actually, when you're thinking about, let's say, three things that you're grateful for each day, that they're things that you're truly grateful for, not things that you should be grateful for. So you want to feel the gratitude. That's when that sort of gratitude practice is most effective. But as you start to spend time each day thinking about what you're grateful for, it also brings your attention throughout the day to things that you're happy about. So it's just basically an attention, like where you put your attention is very important. And so it's training to kind of look at things that you are happy about and grateful for. As you said, though, there's also many difficult times, and especially for women in midlife. I mean, it's a time of loss. A lot of us are doing caregiving for very ill parents, and we're taking care of children. There's a lot of anxiety in children today. It's there's a lot going on, obviously, pandemic, everything else. And so gratitude can help us kind of stay grounded. But also, as I mentioned, that reflection piece of what can I learn from yesterday acknowledges that there are tough times
Mm,
and it's okay to have difficult feelings. We have to allow ourselves to feel those feelings in order to, get past them and do new things. But then also to your point, that one step in front of the other, by kind of thinking about each day, what small things you can do to kind of get where you want to go, that kind of helps you from dwelling too much
mm.
in the difficulties, because we all have the difficulties and it's okay to feel sad and feel that, and then we also kind of have to keep moving as well, and sort of thinking about small things, and those small things, as you do those small things, you build confidence in order to do even bigger things.
Absolutely. And two things came to mind. I like to call it the pause for the breath, but being able to sit in the discomfort, sit in the pain, sit in the worry about our parents, about our children, about the mental health issues that are arising, to feel it and then to release it and to move forward, as opposed to what I like to say is, toxic positivity, where we're just pretending it's unicorn and rainbows all the time, which it certainly is not. So, thank you for kind of framing that, because I'm in complete agreement. We know we have rough days. And
Yeah.
I think that the gratitude and the reflection gives us the tools to get through the tough times, but it certainly doesn't take the tough times away. So for me, that brings across an idea of equanimity and discernment, and being able to take the good with the bad and the bad with the good. How have you been able to practice that, especially of late with parents that you're taking care of, and with children about to embark on adulthood, which is a big deal. I'm going through
Yes.
empty nesting syndrome myself, so I'm all about talking about that for those at home, because it's hard. My baby's gone. I know he's
It's
21, he's
such a
not a
huge
baby,
adjustment.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's such a huge adjustment. And I think one of the most valuable tools, in addition to that sort of daily mindset work or as part of it, is also kind of examining how you're thinking about things. Because a lot of times, a circumstance such as, my my parents are chronically ill, that can be a very depressing thing or whatever.
Mm.
Um, but the way that we're thinking about it is often what causes more stress and angst for us than the circumstance itself. Oh gosh. Whoa, sorry about this. 1 second.
Mhm, that's okay. You're
That
giving us
was
some excitement. Yeah, like,
bit of a
when I hear you say that, what comes to mind is a reframe.
exactly. So rather than, for example, if I have elderly parents who need care, rather than thinking, you know, this is really hard, it's never going to end, I don't want to do this. Um, we can choose an alternative thought that isn't like so kind of high and, out there that we can't reach it, but something that's sort of middle. Like, I choose to show up for my parents weekly, or,
Oh, I love that. I love
I'm
that so
choosing
much.
to support my parents in a way that reflects my values. So when we change how we're thinking about something, and we realize that we have the choice of what to think, it's a practice, then we can move on to basically, help train ourselves to think in new ways, and to decide whether we do want to choose to show up in that way, because we don't have to. Another possibility is to create a boundary. Like, I choose to, um, you know, focus on self-care in addition to caregiving.
Hmm.
That's another reframe, for example. So, um, really taking time to examine your thoughts and think about what you want to do, how you want to show up in the world, how you want to create boundaries for yourself, and then thinking about different thoughts that may serve you better.
Yes. And the powerful thing you said there is I choose to, because reminding ourselves that in every decision we have a choice and we're choosing to be there to support our parents or whomever it is that we're supporting, it re-empowers us because we could choose differently, right?
Yes.
And that is a wonderful way to regain our power, focus, and purpose and ensure that we're in alignment with our values, because hopefully what we're choosing correlates with our values, whether it be love, contribution, and all these different things that we tend to do. So that's lovely. Now, when you're working with your clients, so now you're working with your clients on their mindset, you're helping them get alignment with their values, you're even trying to bring more fun and focus in their life. It's hard to work with customers sometimes, though, just like it's hard to work with ourselves, right? So,
For sure.
can you share with me a story or a situation where you can remember trying to work with someone on this mindset, or a reframe, or something of that nature, and it was really, really difficult, like you weren't sure if the two of you would get there, and then you had a breakthrough? Can you maybe give us a little story around that and what that breakthrough, and I know I'm just throwing you on the spot here, so
Yeah.
anything that
No
comes up
problem.
is
Yeah.
fine, but I'd love to hear that, because guys, at home it's not always easy, right? Like, people think, oh, these coaches, they got it all together. I fight with myself like multiple times a day. So it's hard, and if it's hard working with ourselves, I know it's also hard sometimes working with someone else because they face similar challenges.
100%. And it's interesting because as coaches, sometimes you can be in a coaching session and thinking to yourself, as a coach, I mean, you're trying to really be in a listening zone. So you're actually trying not to think really at all, because you're just trying to receive and reflect back, and sort of thinking about kind of what can be a question that will help bring out more awareness. But there are occasions, we're all human, and you might have a thought as a coach, like, I don't feel like this is going in the direction that they need it to go. Or like, I'm not sure that she's picking up on her own cues. Or if you're asking a question like, oh, what do you feel is more important? Like, this issue that you've raised or this issue that you've raised? And, you know, they choose something that maybe doesn't seem as vital, or whatever, but actually they know best. And so I had actually a situation, a session just recently, where it really felt like, um, this client was just completely resistant, to pursuing a different approach. She really was used to pursuing a particular approach and was very resistant to the idea of trying something different. And so, the session ended, and, as always, I kind of send follow-up materials or exercise or two. But in my mind, I was kind of like, I'm not sure, you know, how that landed. Um, sure enough, the next day, the client texted to say, hey, I gave that some more thought, and I think that I need to actually take a rest, and I need to, kind of recover a bit for myself, and, then I can kind of move forward. And so a lot of times coaching happens in the spaces between sessions when people have a little bit of time to actually kind of mentally process what they talked about in the session, or see kind of follow up materials and kind of give it more thought. But also, it takes time, like it, as somebody who has received coaching, I know that you kind of are hoping, hey, it's going to be a quick fix. Like,
Mhm,
within 3 sessions, I'm going to be like a completely new person.
mhm.
And it's like, well, it actually took many years for me to get where I am today. And it's going to take some time for me to unlearn some of those unhelpful habits, right? And it's the same with our clients.
Absolutely. But being patient, and it sounds like giving the space, because sometimes you want to jump in and say something, whether it's with a loved one or a coachee or an employee. And if you just give it space, sometimes they'll come to that conclusion on their own. Most times, right? I think is the one of the
Yes.
value points you're giving us in that story.
Yeah.
So now that you've been doing this for a while, have you ever had a moment where you thought, "Oh, I miss the corporate world," or "I miss, the publishing world," or are you like, "Yeah, I'm loving this coaching thing. Let's get this done."
Yeah, no, I love coaching. And I mean, I've worked with some amazing people in media whom I'm still, friends with. And but uh I don't regret for a minute having made the switch. I love being self-employed and having the flexibility to kind of do what I need to do during the day. As a self-employed person, I'm able to, go for a walk in the morning, do a bit of volunteer work, and coach people, do other things. So for me, it's just been a fantastic evolution. And I think, learning that perhaps in the past I had kind of, valued myself as that sort of employee, and, the titles and that sort of thing, and realizing that in fact, ultimately that may not be that rewarding. And, you know, ultimately living a balanced life that allows me to, um, cover all of my different needs and interests is golden.
And that word evolution is perfect because it doesn't take away from all of the wonderful success you've had in the past. It's where you are now, right? And sometimes I feel that we get so, I don't want to say the word obsessed, but we get connected to what we see as that forward vision, whatever it
Mhm.
is, whether it's a title or a husband or a house or a financial goal. And then we set our happiness and our value upon achieving that. And really, as you said, that balance of life comes from we are worthy just as we are. We're whole and complete just as we are. And whatever we do with our time will only enhance that, but it doesn't define us, right? So,
Yeah.
um, really, really important lesson for us to learn, I think, is doesn't matter where we're at, we can always change gears, and it doesn't take away the value of the past lessons. Because, as you said, we're reflecting on our past every single day and seeing what we want to bring forward into today. So, with all these lessons and all these learnings, I would say right now, mental health is a huge thing. It's always been big. Perhaps just more people are talking about it, or perhaps 3 years of being locked away from family, friends, and all of our coping mechanisms might have contributed. But we'll leave that for a different talk. My reason for bringing that up is with your children and with the younger sort of generation that's moving into adulthood now, I feel that many of them are having a difficult time with mental health. As a coach, how do you recommend that we are able to show up for our youth as parents, as aunts, as friends, as just, role models? How can we show up? What do you think they need from us right now that would be most supportive for their growth and their mental health?
Yeah, I mean, it's a topic that I feel really passionate about, because certainly my children have struggled with anxiety, and I know so many friends whose children are also, really struggling. And so I think, you know, the first step is listening, and listening to our kids and hearing when they're saying, I'm really stressed out. I'm very anxious. Um, you know, when they're talking about that, we need to take that seriously. And from my perspective, taking that seriously means sort of immediately looking into resources that are available. And luckily, certainly in Ontario, there's actually quite a few OHIP covered resources like TeleCBT, Mind Beacon. I think it Connects Ontario. There's a bunch of resources um, that are available that people can access online. I wish that there were more um, resources available. I mean, it's no secret that mental health care is not sufficient for needs, the whole healthcare system. It's been a struggle.
Mhm.
Um, but at least taking advantage of the supports that are there, talking to your child's doctor, first, then looking into those supports.
Mhm.
Um, and just really having an open dialogue about making sure that everybody's sort of checking in with each other and, um, if necessary, talking to your family doctor about therapies or medication or anything like that. So it's something that I talk a lot about with other parents that I know, and I've shared a lot of resources. We've certainly taken advantage of some of those resources. And what's great too is that many organizations like will share tips to parents as well. For example, there's a group called Behavior Matters that works with kids who have autism, ADHD, or just, anxiety and that sort of thing. And in addition to doing group work with teens, they also share strategies and workbooks with parents as well.
Mm.
So there's huge opportunities for us as parents to kind of educate ourselves about how we can best support our kids, understanding that, there's only so much we can do. We're not doctors. We try our best.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, I think really listening, talking to the family doctor, taking advantage of any resources that are out there is key.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is advocating too, right? Continuing to advocate for our kids, for our loved ones, making sure that we're the voice for them, that we're looking out there. And, for all of you out there, advocating just means continuing to make it a priority and continuing to do what you can to get those different resources out there and get them known, because sometimes a lot of people just they don't know where to go, and it's not publicized as well as it could possibly be. And then what I'm also hearing from you is curiosity. So listening from a state of curiosity with your loved one, as opposed to just trying to come back and give solutions, just like really understanding, empathizing, and coming at it with curiosity as to what our kids are going through. Is that a fair way of saying it?
100%. Yeah. Being curious and non-judgmental, um, and sort of just taking time to listen, not necessarily offering solutions or if you find yourself going into advice mode, um, you can ask that question, would you, would you like me to just to listen, or would you like me to offer advice? What would be most helpful for you right now?
And that's a great
Um,
question to ask anybody in any situation.
yeah,
Like sometimes my girlfriends just want me to shut up and listen, and other times they're like, can you please tell us what to do? So that's a great question to ask anybody. Now, when you're doing all of this busy work, you're taking care of your kids and you're advocating, and you've got this 50 Forward website and you're coaching women on mindset. Do you find time for any other contribution? Because I heard you say you like to volunteer as well, but we haven't gotten into that.
yeah. That was what was nice about kind of pursuing freelance work, is that I could carve out time for a bit of volunteer work. So I do social media for a nonprofit that helps homelessness,
Mm.
helps people experiencing homelessness in Toronto.
What would that
Um,
place be, just for those who are interested in maybe?
it's the Common Table. So it's Common Table TO on social.
Mhm.
And yeah, so just sort of trying to give back and help out. And that, of course, is like a natural thing for me to do because it's something that I have experience with. And it was also something that I was able to do from home during the pandemic. So that was helpful as well.
Wonderful. Well, contribution is so important to share our blessings. Now, I just want to acknowledge you for being so feminine and powerful at the same time. You have a wonderful feminine energy about you. And to know that you've taken this brave approach and you've started a brand new career and you're taking care of aging parents while you're standing up and being a great mom and wife for your kids and your husband, and still finding time to contribute is wonderful. So I want to know, like, and we have to wrap up, but if you had to go back to that younger Lisa, the wee little one that's, under 7, and give her a piece of advice, because she clearly didn't know you'd be such a powerhouse, what would you tell her?
I don't always feel like a powerhouse, but
And that's okay, because none of us do at all times. And it's all
yeah,
right, I think, for us as women to know when we're a power state and to know when we just need to sleep.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if I were to go back and talk to that younger Lisa, I would be saying, um, don't worry, I'll take care of you. And, you know, you have what you need to do good things.
Mm, I love it. You have everything you need, and I'll take care of you. No externals needed. I got your back. And I think
Yeah,
our inner child really needs to know that, because for many of us, our inner child was told something completely different. And it's still playing that loop in our subconscious mindset. So we've got to kind of go in and reinforce, hey, we're here. I got your back. So thank you, Lisa. And thank you, everyone, for joining me again. I'm sure that if you're like me, you found this very interesting and exciting, because Lisa's done some really cool things. Please look her up. Lisa, give us your social handles. I know you've got 3, so please, if you can provide them. And also let us know if you're doing anything in the up and coming future so we can check you out.
thank you so much. Yeah, it's Coach Lisa Murphy and 50 Forward Club on Instagram. Lisa Murphy TO is my personal. And my website should be launching for coaching probably very soon. And yeah, just offering coaching and available to help.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being with us, Lisa. I appreciate your light, and I'm looking forward to continuing to watch your growth and success in the coming years.
Well, likewise. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe and follow me. And also, if you want some other content, hit me up on Tara Mishral Speaks on Instagram, or join my inner circle at taramishral.com. You will be the first to receive new content when it drops, as well as the first to get the Women's Spotlight. Learn about other amazing women in our local community that are up to big things. Thanks again, with love and light. Until next time, guys.